All right, welcome back to the Slice Tennis Podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Boughton, and my co-host, JP Hovey. Here, the Slice Podcast is presented by Betway, and we're excited that you're here with us. We just had a great end to the weekend or the week with some big finals, which we're going to go through. Just right off the top, the topics that we're going to get into is JP and I will give our top 5 Wimbledon favorites on the men's side, and we'll talk about our honest reactions and review for the Federer final 12 days Amazon documentary that came out a couple days ago. I don't know if you guys have had a chance to see it. And then our third story is going to be talking about a tennis couples update, because obviously Jannik Sinner and Anna Kalinskaya made some headlines this weekend, didn't they, Mr. JP?
They did, and we love to see it. Every week it seems like the couples are on top. So if you're a single man or woman on the tour, maybe take some notes.
Take some notes. It seems to work out when people get together. Rankings start to do well. And I mean, I guess unless you're, Sitsadosa, but we'll get into that. We'll get into that. But first things first, JP, how was your week? What'd you get up to? How much tennis did you watch?
So I'll start with this. On Tuesday, I'm a massive animated movie fan. I went to go see Inside Out 2. I don't know if you've seen Inside Out 1. Have you?
No.
That pains me a little bit. I
don't like animated movies. I don't know why. I'm like a realist. I'm like only real, real things.
This guy, man. This guy. Hey, if there's any Italians in the chat, maybe you're right about him. But
don't bring that up. Don't bring the Italians into this. I've had enough Italiano for the weekend.
Hey, but I'm telling you, if you got to promise me that you'll give at least this movie a chance, because it is truly one of the best movies, one of the highest rated movies on IMDb, Rotten Tomatoes, everything.
Really?
And it will wreck you. It's all about your emotions, right? So the characters, it's a 12-year-old girl, and inside the main characters are joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust. That's in the movie 1. In movie 2, they introduce anxiety, boredom, nostalgia a little bit, but it's like super deep. It's super funny, and it's really entertaining. And it set my week up right, because I'm like, look, JP, you got to feel all your emotions. It's important. You got to have the sadness to have the joy. And so Inside Out 2 was a great start to the week. Finished the week going to my boy's wedding, who, shout out Canada, 2 years ago, he was on the Canadian tour for golf. Now he's on the Corn Ferry Tour, Keenan Husky. Beautiful wedding with him and his family. Some other golfers were out there. And I was back home in Greenville, South Carolina for that. But week was great. Was able to watch some of the tennis because the Americans were up this week.
That's a fact.
So how about you, bro? I saw some posts.
Yeah, that sounds like a good week, JP. My week was great. We had a baby moon, because if you haven't caught the news, my wife and I are expecting our first child.
Let's go.
A lot of people are like, wait, you're married? I thought you were like 19 years old. I'm 29. Okay. Pretty mature, I would say. No, but we had a baby moon. So we went along up the coast of the west coast of Canada, a place called the Sunshine Coast, which is really beautiful. From where I live, you have to take 2 ferries. We basically took a ferry, drove all the way through Vancouver, took another ferry, and we get to this Airbnb. My wife sorted it out. She's awesome. She's got a great taste. We're there, and then we had to leave super early, like 6 a.m. So I get all the stuff in the car, and I'm packing it up. We're also in the midst of moving, so everything's a little bit chaotic. And we get there, and she's like, "Where's the black suitcase? Like my black one?" And I was just like instantly just like, no. And then I had like all of her clothes in it, because I'm like an idiot. So she had 2 suitcases there, and I had another little black suitcase that I had already packed up for the move. And I was like, wait, why is the black suitcase that I packed up sitting over here? I just moved it over there, but it was like obviously just the other one. So I'm just a knucklehead. And then I was like, oh my gosh. And it was kind of like, and then we were going to watch the Oilers versus Florida Panthers game later that night. I was like, this is throwing off our whole week. This is a bad start. So I'm like trying to figure out a courier, like to get it. They're like, it's going to be like 2 days, and it's only like a 3-day trip. So And I was like, I had one idea. I was like, wait, Harbor Air. So there's like this little float plane airline in this area that like literally flies between the cities on the coast.
Yeah.
And it's like $200-300 one way if you want to fly. And I was like, oh, it actually flies from like Victoria, where I live, to Seashell, this tiny town where we were staying. And I was like, I wonder if they would just like, if I got a buddy or a family member to drop off the suitcase, if they would just fly it over. And then, if there's a big airline, they'd probably be like, no, it's against our policy. It could be a bomb. Like, you never, I don't know. But I called them and I got this sweet lady at the call center, which is like in Canada. And it was awesome. And she's like, oh yeah, we could just put it on us a freight. She was like, do, figured it out. My parents-in-law, who are saints, took the suitcase from our condo. They have a key, took it down to the harbor like an hour later after we figured this out. It got on a plane, went overnight, and showed up, like literally flew in, landed on the water, and we drove there at 8:30 a.m. the next morning. We had all our clothes. It was like no issue.
How was the spirits of your wife when she initially found out? Was she upset with you, or did she keep it calm?
She was pretty rattled for sure. I'll say there's a couple tears, and I was just like, because she had like a bunch of outfits she wanted to wear, and then she had some like promotional stuff she had to do as well that was in that suitcase, but then that went down to like, oh my gosh, I'm a hero. Like I figured this out. So Harbor Air, shout out. Like I would love to secure a sponsorship with you guys, do whatever. Like you guys are the greatest company on earth. It's great. So you guys saved our week and saved our baby moon. So I owe you a lot.
The baby will also thank them, because the stress goes to the baby. Now it's going to come out happy and smiling.
That's right. Doesn't want to live in a toxic environment of stress, which was totally deleted because we secured the bag, literally secured the bag. And then the Oilers won for the third time in a row. So now there's game 7 tomorrow night, Monday night, when this podcast comes out tonight, where the Oilers will win their 4th game in a row to reverse sweep the Florida Panthers in one of the greatest sport comebacks of all time. I don't know if you knew this was going to be.
It is the only 3-0 comeback in any sport if they win.
Well, in the NHL, it's actually been done one time before. Actually, so sorry.
Yeah, bro. Nobody watches NHL.
NHL is not a major sport. It's I get it.
Yeah, basketball, baseball, football, bro.
That's right. So the last time it was done was 1942. So let's put it in perspective. Literally 80 years ago. So it doesn't even really count, maybe. But
so this would be the first time in history.
Essentially, yeah.
I hope they win, man. I hope they win. Connor McDavid. I'm Team Connor.
Good stuff. We love to hear that from our Southern brother.
Yes.
Okay. So what happened this week, JP? We had Holla. I always say it by the first names, but technically you should say the sponsors. So we had the ATP 500s in Holla and Queens. Yannick Sinner defeats Hubie Hurkacz in 2 sets, 7-6, 7-6. Very tight match. That was interesting. We'll probably get into that. And Queens in London, Tommy Paul defeated Lorenzo Musetti.
Hey, real quick, that trophy in Queens, it is massive.
Big time. I honestly think they're having like a competition for who has the bigger trophy, because in Holla it's also huge, and they've actually changed it. Like it used to be bigger in Holla, so it was like the ATV 500s on grass with these huge trophies. It was like, did you know the trophies were that big?
No, it's like obviously I've seen like the guys lift the trophy, but it was for whatever reason this photo of Tommy Paul after that they posted, and I saw him holding it, and I was like, for what reason is this maybe the biggest trophy on tour?
Yeah. I don't know why. It's it's London. It's Queens. They're very proud of their tradition there. Maybe they just they wanted us. They got Wimbledon like the week after, so they're like, we gotta outdo Wimbledon somehow. It's like a crosstown, much bigger tournament, obviously. But that was a great win for Tommy. Makes him the #1 American player. JP is American.
Let's go. So, obviously, I'm Team American all the way, but I am Team Tommy Paul a little bit more than I am Team Taylor Fritz.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Name drop.
I'm Taylor. Fired. Just know that I'm easily persuaded. If you're watching this show, it could literally change in a week. And all it could take to change is just a double tap on a post on the Slices page.
This guy doesn't need much. He does not need much to. It's like
so. Hey, and at the same time, Tommy, don't get too comfortable. Don't be too comfortable at that number one spot.
For sure. Do not get too comfortable. That's a good theme in tennis in general, I would say. Berlin, WTA 500 at the Bet1 Championships. Great tournament. I was there in 2022, interviewed Bianca Andreescu. I had a very awkward moment with her where I tried to make a joke about it's the Bet1 Championships. Which you would assume as like a Canadian, you would be like, or American, you'd be like, oh, it's a gambling company
Right.
is sponsoring that. But no, it's actually a sleepwear mattress company. Bet means bed in German, I think.
Wow.
So, but then the way I explained her, it's all about phonetics and, speaking. I was like, I thought it was a betting company, but it's actually a betting company. And then she couldn't understand the difference in like betting and betting, which is obvious because it's like basically the same word when you say it. And then she was like, wait, what? I included it in our interview. Anyways, if you haven't seen that, go back and watch it. Very funny, I think, because I look like an idiot. But what else is new? So Bet1 Championships, Jessica Pegula, another American.
Hey, man, the Americans are back. The Buffalo Bills, they're also back. But,
are they?
Dude, yeah, I mean,
back to
honestly,
losing in the conference finals?
Yeah, they're probably not back, but for the sake of the good vibes for Jessica. Yeah. And also quick shout out to Jessica's Twitter game. Like, I feel like last year or maybe 2 years ago is when I got put onto it. And she is really funny. You can tell she doesn't take herself too seriously. She also deals with a ton of hate because her parents have money. And it's like, she has never done anything that has, like, she's never acted stuck up. She's never, like, I don't know. The hatred towards her doesn't check out. Like, so I'm glad she won. It's good to see her in the winner's circle. And unfortunately,
she's cool.
Yeah,
she's very cool. It's kind of like the Zach. There's a guy in the Oilers. His name is Zach Hyman. His parents are also like billionaires or something. And this guy came up with this post saying it's like, he just scored 50 goals this season, and that's not as impressive because his parents are rich, basically. And this guy just got flamed for it. They're like, oh yeah, the reason he's just like. Yeah, it's a pretty ridiculous thing to say. Yes, I understand that. Yes, Jessica Pegula definitely would have got more, academy tennis lessons starting out, but Serena Williams had nothing, like literally. And Serena Williams is, no offense, Jessica, a little bit of a different level. So I do think it's talent shows out. Rich people can't make their kids talented. A lot of times it's the opposite.
Exactly.
So, anyways, Pegula gets the win in Berlin, which is over Kalinskaya, the girlfriend of Jannik Sinner. So we'll talk about that. And then WTA 250 in Birmingham, Putintseva defeats Tomljanovic for the title there. So that brings us to these smaller grass titles. We got the grass season. I guess that's like another topic we could touch on. Right. But short grass season. Last week we had this week that just finished. We have next week, and then it's Wimbledon. So on that note, main story, our top 5 Wimbledon predictions. You could say power rankings, but it's more of like our top 5 Wimbledon favorites. So maybe each of us will run through it and kind of give your quick rationale for each guy. You want to go first, JP?
I will, and I'm going to start it. You want me to start from number 1 or number 5?
Number 1, I think.
Number 1. I think we all know. I think he is. Nobody's going to be shocked by this. Jannik Sinner. He's been crushing ever since he left the clay. The game is just suited for it. We saw. I know you made a video earlier, but the 2 points he had that were just absurd, and how fast he moves on the surface and how easy it is for him. I think Jannik Sinner is a pretty safe number 1.
Yeah, I like it. Now, number 2, you go 1 to 5, and then I'll go 1 to 5.
Perfect. Number 2, I got Djokovic. Obviously, this is assuming he is playing, and I think, how do you not have him at number 2 if he is in? This would be a classic. Everybody has written him off a little bit because of the injury, and he's playing in the Olympics. So there's a lot of questions around like, hey, what is Djokovic doing? And I feel like that's where Djokovic operates best, and I would hate to be the guy that doesn't have him in my top 2 when he's won the most Grand Slams.
Yeah.
So I got him at number 2. I got Alcaraz at number 3.
Okay.
Obviously, coming off the Roland Garros win. Carlos is just, I mean, He's been to the Wimbledon final before, and I mean, it's if there's any tournament going on and you don't have Carlos in your top 3, it's kind of like, what are we? Why do you hate him so much? It can't be anything he's doing on the court.
Yeah.
Number 4, I got 2 people naturally. I got Medvedev and Herbie Hurkacz.
That's pretty. Yeah, Hurkacz. It's well, his
Hurkacz.
name's they call him Hubie.
Herbie. I said Herbie, didn't I?
Yeah,
Hubie.
that's funny. That's kind of cute, Herbie.
Yeah,
Hubert.
little Herbie on the grass.
Yeah.
But he had an awesome tournament this past week, and it seems like these are 2 sort of not purely vibes picks, but Medvedev I feel like is so due for a championship run. And I don't know. Are you a Medvedev fan?
I love Medvedev.
Yeah.
Nothing bad to say about that guy. I think he's the funniest guy on tour by a long shot.
Got to be the funniest guy on tour. 5, I had to throw an American in there. Tommy Paul. Momentum is high. You always go with the hot hand. And again, this is how I am in college football. If you're my team going into any tournament, I have you. My team is South Carolina in college football.
Right.
South Carolina has never won a national championship. Every single year I've been alive, I have told people South Carolina is winning the national championship this year. Because when they do, there's no way you could tell me that it wasn't on record that I didn't call it.
That's right. That's going to feel so good when they eventually do.
Yes. And then I also have my honorable mention, Denis Shapovalov, because he was in the tweet of somebody that has predicted every single Grand Slam champion so far this year correctly, and he had Shapo winning this year.
That is crazy. If Shapo wins and that guy's that guy's going to be owed a lot of money, I'm sure, from some books.
Betway, bro.
Betway will be sending him the bag.
Yes.
The bag. Well, I think that's a pretty solid top 5. I like that. It's not just basically the top 5 rankings. So yeah, mine are a little bit more, I would say, I don't know, maybe safe, but I'll run through mine now and you can get my quick thoughts. Okay. Number 1 for me is Jannik Sinner. I was debating this. There's like some good rationale for Djokovic and for Alcaraz being number 1, if you think about it. But I got Sinner because the serve is great. The movement is great, as we just talked about. And from the baseline, his power, his flat through the ball power can hurt you even more than Alcaraz's can. And I feel like in the last couple of years, Alcaraz's movement got to a higher level quicker, and Sinner kind of had to grow into his body a bit. But I think he's done that. He's grown into his body. And from what we've seen on the grass so far, he's figured out the movement. So his serve is better than Alcaraz's. His pace is a bit more flat through the court, and that helps at Wimbledon for sure. So I'm leaning Sinner, and based on his confidence and the fact that he's number 1, I like it. So, but these are not big gaps. I will say that. Right. Number 2, I've got Alcaraz because he won last year. He just won Roland Garros. He's got 3 majors now, and I just wrote down he's a total gangster. Like, he is one of the guys who you can count on in the biggest moments will find his best tennis. 5-set matches. If it goes 5 sets, he's like lights out in majors. His record's crazy. And yeah, he beat Novak Djokovic in the final last year in the final in 5 sets. Had to serve it out. What did he do? He found a first serve every single serve in the last game. Bang, bang, bang. No choke. So anyways, now I'm sounding like I should have put him first. But anyways, I think Sinner's still got a bit more of like the actual game for grass that can come out. But it'll be super interesting to see them play because they've never played on the surface before. But I've got him as number 2 above Djokovic, who's number 3, because Djokovic literally just had knee surgery like a week and a half ago. So I think that's a pretty good reason, or 2 weeks ago, or whenever it was. But he has, if you've been living under a rock, he has traveled to Wimbledon. He's there right now. He's in the draw, or the draw's not out, but he's in the entry list. And, I think it's like JP said, if he's in the draw, he's got a good chance. And I'm never going to be like doubting him out. I kept Rafa Nadal out of my Roland Garros list this year, and I was just like, I was almost praying that he would lose like in the first round, because I was like, just for my own credibility, and it worked out. That sounds terrible, but
I'm glad I wasn't a part of that one because he would have been in mine.
fair enough. That's true. But he did lose in the first round, so
Yeah.
you gotta make bold calls sometimes. But I do think Djokovic, it's like a caveat. If his knee's fine, then he can beat anyone. He can win the tournament. He's won 24 majors. That's all I wrote as the rationale for that was 24 majors. That's pretty much all you got to do.
You have something else in there too.
Oh yeah, GOAT. Yeah,
Oh.
he's pretty non-arguably the GOAT when it comes to stats, records, all this. I'm not afraid to say it. And yeah, he likes to eat the grass on Wimbledon on the final day like a GOAT would. So
Novak Djokovic.
As far as the draw here, he's the man, right? If he's healthy, he's the man. So we'll see how healthy he gets, and we'll probably need an update on this by the time Thursday comes around when the draw gets released. Anyways, next, so number 4 for me is Medvedev, and I've got him there because he's won a major before. He's been to many finals, and he was in the semifinals last year, and he got cooked by Alcaraz, but so did everyone else, including Djokovic. So you're like, I don't think he really had his best game either there, but with his serve, he didn't really serve that good in that match either. But if he, the draw, it's always just more open now with the injuries that Djokovic has. You never know who's going to play. Maybe Alcaraz or Sinner somehow loses early. It could happen, and then you never know. So he knows he can get over the line to win a major. He's done it before. He's my number 4 player. Nice. And then number 5 is Zverev. Sasha Zverev. He was in the final of Roland Garros. He's got a huge serve. The reason why he's kind of struggled at Alcaraz or at Wimbledon before is because quickness of the surface. He kind of seems to need time for his balls, and he can get late in a lot of his shots and kind of get pushed around. And he doesn't like to be aggressive. And to be a grass court player, you got to be able to come forward. I think he's doing that more and more. He's getting better with his kind of all court game, and I just think because of the level he's had all year, he's had a great year. That does usually translate. And, that his serve is ballistic. Like he can win matches just with the serve. So, yeah. Anyways, that's my top 5. What do you think?
So, I love it. I have a question in the matchup between Alcaraz and Sinner compared to a matchup between Alcaraz and Zverev, and the reasons. I would assume this, right? Sinner matches up better against Alcaraz than Zverev would. Or does
I think it depends on the surface, like a lot for that question. Like Zverev on clay versus Alcaraz is almost better than Sinner versus Alcaraz. Like a better matchup, like a closer matchup. And then on these quicker surfaces, like a hard court, Sinner and Alcaraz are like totally neck and neck. And I think, Sinner with just his, right now the confidence he has is a little bit of ahead of Zverev. And then on the grass, we just don't know because it's always like a sample size question. Like there's so few matches. Like all these top guys who are younger have so few matches on grass under their belt in their career. Like I think it was like the stat last year was like Alcaraz won Wimbledon and he literally only played like 2 grass court tournaments in his career before. That. It was like his third one. He won Queens the week before. So, and he played Wimbledon, I think the year before that, but I think that was it. Maybe it was a few more, but you know what I mean? Like there's no really like, oh, like this guy's a clay court because he knows
no sample size for a lot of them, like a true sample size.
That's right. So, that's a fair question.
And then do you have a sleeper that's not on your list?
Yeah. I mean, there's a few. Like Hubie Hurkacz, you got to think. Like I always think back to he ended Fed's career at Wimbledon by giving him a bagel to chew on. It's like crazy. And nicest guy on tour, Hubie, but literally one of the baddest serves on tour. Like when his serve rating, him and Sinner's serve ratings today in Hala were crazy, like well over 300, I think both of them. And like he's almost a serve bot. Like like he's one of those guys who's a serve bot, but he can play a lot more of it. And if he's just playing downhill, he's really hard to beat. One guy I always pick as a sleeper on grass I've talked to him about this, Stefanos Tsitsipas. Yeah. We were in Stuttgart 2 years ago, and we got a video. Actually, Nicole, my wife, got a video of him diving on the grass and hitting a volley, and he's like, show me that. I was like, dude, I think, and a question I had asked in press, he was like confused by it. He's like, I think I'm good on grass. I was like, and when I cleared it up after, I was like, no, I think you're good on grass too. I just think you haven't had the success to show kind of where your game is at. He's like, yeah, I agree. So he's never really had the success on grass, and people think it's because his backhand slice is not great, and that's true. That is one of the main reasons. But it is getting better, and his forehand service combo is so nasty. And yeah, like I always just believe that if he can figure out the return on his backhand side on grass, he could really do well at Wimbledon. And he was doing pretty well, and then he lost in the third round to Kyrgios a couple of years ago. I don't know if you remember that match, but it was just like clown town show.
Scenes.
It was crazy.
We need another one of those this year.
Yeah,
from somebody.
I don't know who's going to do it. Ben Shelton. Imagine returning her serve on grass. Like, there's all these guys who I just go like, I don't even know how. Like, is he unplayable? Like Milos Raonic, 47 aces, I think, was in that 3-set match.
That record.
That's like 70 aces if you stretch that out over 5 sets.
Dude.
He might not even be in the draw. So I do not believe he's in the qualifying draw.
Oh.
So I think he might be waiting to get a wild card, but it's
good luck. You got to be from Britain to get a wild card in there.
It's pretty tough. Like, they got a reciprocal with Australia and with the US, the other and with France, the other major countries. They all conspire. I had another thought about that. This is maybe for a podcast, but you got to think, or for another podcast, you got to think these countries that host the majors are like the biggest associations of all. Like the USTA and the French Tennis Federation and the LTA in England and the Tennis Australia, they have the most money, because remember what I said last time, 80% of revenue in all of tennis comes from these 4 tournaments.
Right.
So they have the most resources. And on the men's side, like, I'm trying to think, when's the last time a player from those 4 countries won a major? It would be Andy Murray. Winning 3, obviously, from Great Britain. So, and he's actually from Scotland, which is like,
hey.
He's not even from England. So, but and then all of the majors basically over the last 25 years have come from like Switzerland, Serbia, and Spain, non-major hosting countries. So that's kind of like a conspiracy, or like they gotta hate that. So you would have think that you would have thought that like big federation would have come in and somehow canceled the big 3. Didn't happen.
Dude, also, before we get off these, another quick shout out to Hubie for that little no look overhand, whatever it was. It reminded me of one of the shots in the beginning of the Federer documentary.
Yeah, that is a crazy shot.
So
there's like a handful of people who've ever pulled that shot off. It's just like no look, and it's like a slap. Like,
God.
Yeah, that was so nasty. We will try and get that content, a clip of that, put on a short here on YouTube for everyone to see. But if you missed that, one of the best shots. You just go on Tennis TV, they'll show it. It's just like one of the best, a pure tennis shot. Like, people, if you've played, you just go try and do that shot with that much pace and that much snap of the wrist. You'll break your wrist. Like, you will not. It's not possible for amateurs to do that shot.
We'll see about that one. Oh, hang on.
Okay, JP's going crazy here. JP's going crazy.
I'm adding it to my bag, and currently there's nothing in my bag.
You're gonna hurt yourself. I wouldn't try. What, JP, were your thoughts? Your honest review of Federer the final 12 days.
Let me turn my light on here real quick. Get this thing dialed in. Dude, I watched it, and obviously it was incredible, right? But I did feel like there was meat on the bone that they left off. But overall, it's been so long since Federer has been, on court, that the nostalgia that happened right when they start rolling those first 3 clips, like the one similar shot to Hubie that Federer has on Roddick.
Oh yeah.
I watch that probably like once a week, just anyways. And then to see it in the thing, I'm like, oh boy, here we go. And then I'm gonna pull up my notes, because the whole thing was just,
it was up and down. There was a lot of emotions, a lot of awkward parts. Really,
he's kind of like we were talking about earlier before. He's kind of awkward, and then I think one of the first things that stuck out to me, and I'm just curious from a nosy standpoint, was when he was kind of worried about like when the message was getting leaked, when they're like,
Federer.
oh my gosh, it's getting out like that I'm
Yeah.
retiring. And he's like, I got to call. He's like, he's kind of stressing, like, who are my friends that I need to call? And I'm like, dang, I wonder who are Roger Federer's boys and what was that like for them? It would have been really cool to hear from them what it was like getting that call.
True.
And like, what Fed's emotions were when they called. And then I'm going to pass it off to you in a second, but also in the beginning, what a part that stood out was when he was leaving Wimbledon for that last time. And obviously he's super sad. He's just got done talking about the knee, but when he's walking back across that bridge and all the fans are right there.
Yeah.
That was like that's so special. And I'm glad he got to have that moment at the tournament.
Yeah. Yeah, that was kind of like a final farewell. I remember that. And those are the fans, like those are the people. Like that Wimbledon main court is not that big. I don't know if you know this, but like I think it only has like 12,000 fans. Like someone could fact check me on that, but it's like not huge. And you cannot, like, you're not going to be in that arena unless you got serious coins. So
Right.
like him walking across a bridge, you kind of see the people that are like out in the main group. And yeah, like I don't know. For me, this whole episode was like it was emotional for sure. Like I definitely had some tears last night. I was getting all soft on them. Like it was for me, it was like it brought up the feeling of like, oh yeah, this is like this era is over for him, you know, and the big three area is officially coming to a close. And I literally the only reason I'm sitting here and the only reason I care about tennis is because of Roger Federer. That's like if he didn't play, I would not care at all. I would probably generally care because I'm a sports fan, but now so many hours of my life and so many, over 700 episodes of The Slice and Nicole and I going through Europe, like, meeting him, doing like all the stuff we've done is literally just because of him. And you're like, it's kind of emotional. You're like, he's gone now. And yeah, he's not gone from tennis, but he's gone from watching him play. And I guess like gratitude's the main thing. Like I was like, and I think I share the sentiment that so many other fans do of just like, wow, thank you for showing us what the way tennis could be played. Cause it's like literally no one had ever played it the way he had and no one ever will, I think.
Right.
And you're like, it creates like this whole, it gets you into the sport. And now I love the sport, not just because of Federer. I love talking about everyone else, but I'm like, he was the guy that got you hooked.
Yeah.
And that's the story for I think he grew the game. Like you could argue he grew the game more than any player ever has.
Yeah. And I'm with you, dude. Cause even growing up, my mom, she was into tennis, but like we would wake up early to watch Wimbledon. And it's always like, we gotta wake up and watch Federer. So like core moments in my house before I even become like a big tennis fan is like 6 a.m. with my mom in the living room watching Federer, watching the epic 5-set match and like whatever it was 2008 when he loses to Nadal. Like we were pulling for him so hard. We go to the court immediately after the game or the match, and then we're up there. And I wish I like had her on the phone right now because I've never had a tennis lesson. You for real would have thought I was like nice on the court because we just watched 5 hours of tennis.
So you just you knew what to do.
We were out there smacking that ball. Exactly, dude. But the actual Laver Cup, what were your thoughts when they're getting into that footage? Federer showing up for the first time to the practices.
Yeah, I mean, I like how you put it. There's meat left on the bone in this documentary. Like, yeah, I think to be fair, Amazon Prime could have done like a better job. Like they had like a year and a half, and I was thinking like that's a long time for this to come out, and they didn't have that many like interviews with people in his life explaining like what it was like to be. Like, what was it like to travel with Roger Federer for 20 years?
Right.
For Severin Luthi is his coach. They could have interviewed him. They could have interviewed his agent, Tony Godsigmore, to be like, what was it like managing Federer? Like, you're managing the most popular athlete on the planet for like 20 years. Like, and because I remember Miami Open, I was there 2019, and Federer was there, and we were all like going around, like he was getting mobbed. And I was sitting beside Tony. I was like, hey, this is pretty crazy to see him in person. Like he's just a real person. He's like,
Yeah.
he goes, yeah, he just ties his shoes like everyone else. And then actually at one point he was doing like a video read for like part of the tournament. A few journalists, including myself, were I was like taking a picture over the camera at him, and then Tony was like, "No, like get out of here!" Like to all of us. I was like, "Oh, sorry." And then afterwards he came out. He's like, "Sorry, it's just everyone was getting a bit too close."
Right.
But it's like all that, right? All those little interactions of managing Federer's life throughout fans and media obligations and sponsors. Like, what was that like? They didn't really. You know what I mean? They didn't really get outside of those 12 days, I guess, which was maybe that's the whole point. It was just about those 12 days, but
I know
those 12 days weren't that interesting compared to his whole career, in my opinion.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Because even if they would have just sat down with Nadal and Djokovic, like, hey, take us through that first time you played him, and let Novak know, like, this is what Federer's initial reaction was about you. Yeah. And like get to hear what Djokovic thinks about that, and then to also hear what Federer grew to think about him and how much that means to him, that the guy that changed tennis so much went from kind of being like, oh, you know, this kid's okay, to being he's one of the greatest. It's like you would have loved to hear that raw authenticity from Nadal and Djokovic.
Yeah, like that, the fact that they had the crew there during that whole Labor Cup season ready to go. It's like, why wouldn't they have just pulled him aside, be like, hey, we need 20 minutes. We're making this documentary. So yeah, I feel like they missed out on a few spots there. But some of the funny moments of the show that I noticed, one of which was just when Djokovic came off his private jet and him and Federer dap it up on court for the first time. Like, it was awkward. Like, I don't know if anyone else can pick up on that, but it was like Djokovic was not really like, it was not like warm. Like even with Federer to Murray, it was a lot more like, hey buddy, how you doing?
And I think that's also just like, that's Andy Murray, right? Like I've never even been, the only time I've been in the same country as him is when he's playing the US Open, and I feel like I'll be boys with him because he's funny and he's cool. And Djokovic is more
like
intense.
that, but I also seen Djokovic is like that too, with like a lot, like tons of other people. But I don't know. To me, it was just like on court. Maybe it's because all the cameras are around. It's like Djokovic sounded like he was just trying to say the right things, and maybe he felt nervous about, like, you know, it's a weird time, but you know, it was interesting. And then as those few days went on, by the end, Djokovic is crying with Federer, and they're like hugging it, and like, you know, Federer said he said something very personal to him at the end there. What do you think he said, JP?
Dude, I think he had to have told him, like, man, I've literally been trying to think about this all day. And it has to be something around, I don't know if it's like a, hey, man, I want you to know that, like, I think you deserve this too. Like your success you have now. Like, giving him the ultimate validation that Novak seems to be. Maybe he's a validation seeker from some of these people. And it's like he got that validation. And
maybe Fed just went up to him and was like, hey man, you are the greatest to ever do it. Like, you're better than me, or something like that. I don't know if he would have said that. But that's like that to me, that would be like the greatest thing Djokovic could ever hear. And then he like starts bawling his eyes out. So
I mean, and I hope one day they do share it.
Yeah, we'll see. Yeah, that's that'll be my first question at Djokovic next time I'm in a press conference with him. He'll be like, that's private, but you got to ask.
Dude, I also thought it was funny when Federer was talking about the first Wimbledon he won, well, like after he beat Sampras in like the quarterfinals or whatever, and he said Borg called him and was like, hey, thank you so much. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, well, so now Pete can't break my record. He's like, dude, Bjorn Borg seems like the man.
That is crazy. That was interesting about Borg, and Fed kind of was like, he kind of exposed Borg a little bit. He's like, you know, Borg retired early and then just disappeared from tennis for 20 years. Like, I'm not going to be that guy. I'm like, that's kind of funny to say. Like, that guy is Bjorn Borg, who's like the captain of one of your teams right now. But he's like, I think it shows that Bjorn Borg probably had a lot of pride. Like, to be fair, like if you can't handle losing at all, and then you're calling guys, be like, thanks for protecting my record. It's like, he definitely cared more than he was always like. I think he was always like the cool guy. Like,
exactly,
bro. I think those guys are always like actually care the most. Like,
do you think? I gotta believe, and I was trying to mull over other athletes in my head, but like Borg has to be one of the biggest like what ifs. And obviously he had his success, but I mean he legit left in his peak, and like people don't do that.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, people don't do that as much, and I think now they're definitely they're playing longer, like we've seen. Yeah, but yeah, between like he won 11 majors, and he retired at like 26, 27. So
Right.
in today's age, if his body had held up, he could have had like another 8 years.
Right.
So definitely one of the biggest what ifs. Because at that time, the crazy thing is, like, well, I don't know. At that time, I don't know who had the most majors. Maybe no, this is bad tennis history. Maybe he did have the most, because I don't know. Because like Sampras only got to 14, but that was like 2 decades later or
Right.
3 decades later. So he was like, maybe it's just like, yeah, like I'm at the top now, but he didn't know Fed, Nadal, and Djokovic were going to come by,
Right.
and, each win a cool 20 plus, like no
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, it always, whenever I see him just in any of the videos, I'm always like, man, I wonder, like, you got to be sitting at your house sometimes thinking like, why was I, what was I doing? What was I trying to prove?
Yeah, no, and speaking of Borg, I thought one of the funnier moments for me was just like, the Laver Cup is that combination of like the legends of the game and the new guys, Team World, Team Europe, and you had Federer sitting there casually just at a table talking to Borg about life, about tennis, about
Right.
Federer's last 12 days, and he was sitting there in the middle, Alex Demonauer, just saying nothing, but he's just like literally he's sitting between, what is that, 31 combined majors, and just like two of the absolute most iconic tennis players of all time. It's like, and that was a year and a half ago when Alex was even younger. So it's like, there's got to be a crazy moment.
Right. And a couple quick shout outs for, I don't even know if this is a shout out, but I thought it was hilarious when Djokovic comes down and he was apologizing for being late. And they're like, "Oh no, you're good. Mateo's not even here." And they're like, he's always got to look the best. That's why he's late. And then Djokovic explains, "No, I'm late because I was walking down." And I think maybe it was Borg that told him, like, "Hey, you got the wrong white shirt on." And Mr. Class himself, Federer, also had the wrong white shirt on.
I know.
It was
that was a bit surprising.
Unexpected.
But these guys are athletes. They're not actually, Federer's like known as like the stylish like icon. He won like GQ best dressed, most stylish man, like I think a few times.
Right.
But yeah, Berrettini is funny. Like they're always like, dude, don't worry. Like Djokovic is notoriously late for things. That's like a fact. Like even press conferences I've been to, it's like 45 minutes late. It's like crazy. Berrettini is like, he's got another planet. He's like, he might come the next day. And on Berrettini, he's I thought one of the funniest moments, it was a bit awkward actually in the show, was I think it was like somehow, I don't know how it got brought up, but Rafa was talking about his match with Lorenzo Musetti. They said, I think Federer brought it up. He's like, oh, that's the time you were giving some Lorenzo Sonego some pointers. And then they were talking about his grunt, and Rafa goes, yeah, 100% that was on purpose. And he just starts like roasting Lorenzo Sonego. And which is kind of funny. Like Lorenzo didn't know he'd be catching strays, and like
he's just sitting at home.
Documentary.
What they do? Yeah, exactly. What just got me? But dude, shout out to Berrettini.
Shout out to Berrettini. Berrettini comes in there, like we now know the Italians do. They protect their own. He goes, no. He always done that. And Rafa's like, no way, that was intentional. He's like, no, I've played with him since he was like 6. Like, and then Rafa's just like, he's like, I don't believe you. Like, dude, and Federer just like walked away. It was just like kind of awkward.
I loved it though, because you gotta respect somebody that will stand up like to Nadal and just ride for his boy.
We're right. Yeah, for his countrymen. Like he's like, yeah, you're arguing one of the greatest of all time. A lot of those other guys just would have been like not stuck up for their dude, which is hilarious.
Yeah, and I remember that did honestly kind of piss me off a little bit when Nadal did that with Sonego, because I hated the gesture he made, like just a little
bit too much, little boy, and then
right, like kind of suns him up to the net, like it's like, all right, bro,
that was weird. And I think a lot of people were unsure of how that, like they were not that cool with it when that happened. They're like, that is weird. Like Rafa was kind of not in the right headspace there for that.
Right.
For that one.
And I do have one more, because I thought it was hilarious. When they're like introducing all of Team Europe and they're kind of going one after another, I thought Andy Murray's introduction of Djokovic was hilarious. He's like, all right, like this next player, he's an incredible player. He loves to eat plants. He celebrates with vegetable smoothies. Novak Djokovic, and Djokovic is just like dying, laughing, coming up there. I'm like, that was class from Murray, and it sucked for Djokovic because he introduced Nadal next, and his jokes were not hitting like Murray's were. He's like, oh, this guy, he eats clay for breakfast. And everyone's like,
yeah, it's like the same joke. It's like, everyone's like, he eats clay for breakfast. It's like, yeah, it's just, there is so many like awkward nuances between them. Like, and then Nadal goes up there and he goes to Federer. He goes, I forget what he said, but he's like, Federer. He's like, I'm introducing one of the greatest athletes of all time. Like, he's like, no one's ever played the game like he has. Like, he just throws out these like all-time platitudes for him,
right?
You know, and it's funny. So yeah. Anyways, there's a lot of funny moments in there. Leave your comments if you're watching on YouTube. What do you think about the last 12 days documentary? I thought it was cool. Could have been done better. Could have been more to it. If you want like a way more in-depth thing on Federer's career, I will say Christopher Clary, who's a friend of the show, we interviewed him about his book called The Master, and it takes you through like all of. I don't know if you've read that book, JP, or seen it.
I have not. I need to read it.
But it's fairly recent, like came out a couple years ago. And Christopher Clary worked for the New York Times for like a long time. And he would like fly on private jets with Federer from like tournament to tournament and just talk and just like have a recorder going and write. It was like old school, like writing out the articles, right? Like,
right.
And that does not happen anymore with any journalist. It was just like the time I was back in the media when like the only way to get a message out was like through a journalist.
Yeah.
So,
dude, and I think it is cool. Yeah, we'll move on after this, but the ending, like the actual last match. I mean, what kind of just like that's tennis to its peak. Like,
yes,
he's right there for serving for match point, goes out on a win, and then next thing you know, boom, 4 points later they lose the match. Federer ends his career on the loss, and it's like, oh my gosh, this game is ruthless.
Yeah. It does not give happy endings very often.
Right.
And, you know, maybe that's why Borg or Sampras, you know, went out what they did. They're like, we're going to go out on top. We're not going to push it. Let knee injuries dictate when we're going to leave. And you know, yeah. Anyways, they showed in that Federer's last match at Wimbledon with Hurkacz, like, all his family sitting there. It was just like hard to watch, right? He can't like move around the court. Like so it's just like, what are we doing? He's already won 20. Like, right. It's good. That's a good run we've had. So anyways, it was great to see more footage of who, in my opinion, is the real GOAT. And you know, just, it was very emotional to see that. So cool that, now third story, tennis couples update. We didn't think we'd have an update for a while after, I think it was literally last show, Katie Boulter and Alex Demonauer. But JP, I think we have to make another, you know, a rankings check here because Jannik Sinner and Alla Kalinskaya are hot right now. And I love you got to share with everybody the little list you made on our document because I think it's a great visual. Okay. So so we got the combined rankings of kind of like the notable current tennis couples. So you got Sinner and Kalinskaya. If you combine their rankings of number 1 and number 17, you got number 18, which is pretty crazy. I guess we could also do an average, but that, you know, I'm just adding these two. So who's actually the best couple as far as like talent? You know, they're number 1. Yeah. You got Demonauer and Boulter, number 9 and 32, 41. Tsitsipas and Mendoza, it's 11 and 113. But Osa's not really pulling her end of the bargain there. She was like top 10 for a long time. I know. So Sitsi Dosa, they're having fun, but their combined is 124. And then it feels bad to even bring this up, but like Shapovalov, Miriam Bjorklund, we love them, friends of the show. Shap was 120 due to injury, and Miriam is even injured. She's had injuries as well, 592 right now, so combined for 712. So definitely the most like skilled and rankings wise hottest couple right now is Sinner and Kalinskaya. But what do you think about their kind of general aura, their cuteness? They they didn't both win on the same day like Bolter
Right.
and Niemauer did.
So I think that Kalinskaya was watching Bolter's interview last week
Okay.
before her semifinal match, because she gave she gave a nice little post game interview of like it was she didn't take as much of like a dig as Bolter, but was like, I hope hopefully Yannick wins, kind of like hopefully Yannick pulls his end, and we both get to play on Sunday together.
Yeah.
And I thought it was good, but I also have a question about them, which is why I don't have them on my number one power rankings yet,
Okay.
because of our aura. And I wonder, what language do they speak to each other?
That's a good question. All these tennis players speak a zillion languages.
A million
like
languages.
Sinner did half of his speech in German today.
Right.
He's Italian. So
And
he's speaking, but he's from the north of Italy, right? Like he's basically in Austria, where he's from.
So
And then,
do they speak any Russian up there?
I don't think so. But obviously Kalinskaya does.
Right.
So she would, and she obviously speaks English. So maybe they would just speak English to each other.
I know, but her English is a little. Everybody can always improve. I myself included. And so, but that's why I can't give them the number one spot yet. But it's there. Like, how do you not like Sinner? She seems awesome as well.
Yeah.
But I still have my reservations at the moment.
JP's got his reservations. I thought it was hilarious how Sinner in his speech goes, yeah, it would have been great if Anna could have won today. She unfortunately, she had a tough loss, with 6 match points, like not capitalized on. And then it was only actually 5 match points. Like she's probably like, oh yeah, like really had to say 6 match. You had to even bring up the fact that I had match points. Like,
right. The devil is in the details, and you do not want to bring the details up to your girl.
Yeah. Like you don't have to bring that up. Just say she had a tough loss today, but I'm glad I held up my end of the bargain. But I think you, JP, have a list of like the all-time tennis couples. Like there's been a lot. There's some iconic ones.
Yeah. So I'm going to name off. This is in no particular order, of course. So we'll start out. We just mentioned Sinner and Kalinskaya. We got De Minaur and Bolter, Stefanos and Badosa, Dennis and Miriam, Monfils, and I always struggle with this.
Svitolina. Yeah.
Andre Agassi, Steffi Graf, Jimmy Connors, Chris Everett. I didn't realize Roger Federer's wife played tennis. They're on this list. And then I threw an honorable mention on here. I didn't know they dated until today, but Dimitrov and Sharapova. That might be the best looking tennis duo of all time. Grigor's a handsome cat.
He is a handsome cat. Now, we're not going to turn this into TMZ of tennis here, but we like to. Apparently, we love couples, so we're kind of getting there. But Sharapova allegedly was with a few different guys on the tour at different times, including some of them who were later married or potentially married at the time. Not naming any names, not going to do that. But there's like Marat Safin. There's like different. There's a lot of different. I love Tenny Sangren, who's from your area. He's married now.
We're going to bring him on.
That movie Challengers came out, where it's all about this kind of love triangle between 2 guys and a girl. He literally just copy tweeted it, and he goes, well, this storyline certainly didn't just fall out of the sky.
We got to bring him on. We have to bring him on.
I'll leave that to you to set up, JP, because you got the local connection.
Yes, we're going to bring tennis on. But
anyways,
I think with these couples, though, as funny, like, it's dumb to talk about it, whatever. Like, but I think it's cool because Federer, and it goes beyond like guys that are dating or married to it, just guys that are in a serious relationship. It seems like it really does benefit them and the girls on tour, where they have that rock with them, and it helps the mental, and the mental helps you on court. And it seems like a lot of these successful people have that solid foundation. Often it's like, if you're a single guy on tour, single girl on tour, you trying to make it to the top, find you a good woman or a good man that's going to ride with you. They don't have to be an athlete. Just find a good one.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's they all have it if you think about them. And
Right.
the guys who don't, like Kyrgios or didn't through a lot of part of his career, like I'm happily married now. Nicole's my rock. I couldn't imagine doing life without her. And if you were like single, I mean, it'd be fun for sure. Don't get me wrong, it'd be fun.
Right.
But like if you're just dating someone kind of casually and you're like breaking up and getting back together, like that, you can't have that if you're trying to be serious. Like tennis is already stressful enough. So
Right.
yeah, tennis couples for the win, for sure.
Tennis couples for the win.
And okay, last segment here, smash or pass, one of our favorites. Again, for next week, if you guys have topics for smash or pass, leave them in the comments. I don't think got any last time, but if you guys want us to add them to our list, we will. But JP, I'll start it off the top.
Let's go.
Smash or pass, Djokovic playing Wimbledon.
Smash it. He's on my list. I have to say smash, because if not, then I'm fake. And I think he's going to do it. I think he knows he's probably one of the most in touch with his body people out there with everything he does. He wouldn't show up there if he didn't truly believe he had an actual chance at playing. So I'm smashing it. How about you?
Yeah, well, I'm smashing it. I think he will play, but I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. I remember in 2018 when he had his elbow issue, he like kept playing and he came back too early and it like nagged him on for that. So I think he kind of thinks his body's like superhuman, which in reality is in a lot of ways. He is a freak. So I'm just worried. Like I think he will play, but I'm worried about him hurting his knee again. And then
you're worried about Father Time's record.
Well, yeah, like what Federer said in that thing. He's like, I thought that whenever I got a surgery, that would be the start of the end. And he goes, I wasn't wrong.
Right. That did make me sad.
He got surgery in 2016. He's like, my knee was never the same. It was kind of like a little bit of a humble brag. I feel like he's like, I still won 3 more majors and beat everyone on tour, including Djokovic, Nadal, and everybody with a bum knee. But anyways, that smash or pass, not Federer suck up time. Next, what do we got?
We have the Queen's Final.
Queen's Final. Smash. Big time. I thought that was one of the better finals as far as ball striking and quality. Lorenzo Musetti he lost, but he hit some crazy forehands, like literally just ripped them so hard, put them in. He broke when Tommy Paul was serving out the match and he hit like 3 return winners. That was crazy. Smash that one hardcore. How about you?
Smashing anytime a guy, no matter where they're from, gets his biggest win of his career, you can't help but smash it, because you know how hard it is to lift a trophy at the 500 level. At any of the levels, it's hard to win. And anytime you get a first-time winner on the 500 level, you gotta smash it. And the tournament was awesome in general.
For sure, it's a great tournament. I'd love to go there. Hala final, JP.
Again, we're 3 for 3 on smashes. And also the tournament itself. It seems like there was so many upsets this past week, early round upsets.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm smashing this final. Are you sticking with it? Are we keeping the streak going?
We are keeping the streak going. I'm smashing it because that was a great final. In general, I prefer Queens over Hala because the shadowing on the court in Hala, it just kills me. Like a lot of these the earlier or some, I don't know, day matches that are there look like you can't watch it on TV almost. It's like unwatchable. And when I was in Europe, they gave me a press credential and then revoked it 2 days before for no reason, and I couldn't go. So I don't like that tournament at all from that. So maybe I should just like actually pass on that. I'm passing on that. Passing on the Hala tournament.
Let's go.
Because I'm petty. I'm petty, as they would say.
Are you passing on Sinner and Kalinskaya?
No, I'm smashing on it, which sounds weird when we're talking about a couple. But yeah, love their couple. I think they're both sweethearts and very nice, very cute. I love it. How about you?
Yeah, I was going to, but now right after you said that, you said I'm smashing on it. I'm like, I feel like I can't say that. I can't say I'm smashing on it, but I am. I'm smashing the relationship. We need to see them win, and this is what we truly need. We need a mixed doubles tournament, and the way you qualify is literally by being a couple on tour. That ranking doesn't matter.
Sure. That will make mixed doubles interesting.
Dude, right? The tournament would be epic.
Sorry to all the mixed doubles players. That is like
just an exhibition.
It could do it. Okay. Pass or smash, JP? Girlfriends taking pictures with the trophy after a W.
So I am passing on this. It's fine. It's fine if it's not on court, center court, whatever. And I'm only doing this because it's just relationship 101. If you're not locked in, these are big core memories. And I hope everything works out between whoever
True.
this
Good point.
whoever this girlfriend is that I'm referring to. I hope it works out between them and it works and they're in it for the long haul. But if it doesn't, it's guarding I'm guarding hearts is what I'm trying to do. And so unless you're married, you don't need to be out there on that center court lifting the trophy with your boy. So I'm passing. How you feel?
I like that. I think I agree with that. Pass on that. It's not a big point to me because I'm sure he got some photos with just himself and the trophy, or I know 100%. He did. But there was this couple we're talking about, Tommy Paul and Paige Lorenz. They're great, and I'm a fan of them as a couple in general. It was, I think, obviously when you're getting a zillion photos taken, it's hard to take a good photo of me. So like, there was that kind of like they're posing and she's kind of has her hand on his neck. I feel like she was kind of like pulling him over. It was just like a little bit awkward, but it is like it's an awkward scenario because I think the tournament actually was like it probably wasn't even her choice. 100%. She's a big celebrity, so they were like, "Hey, go take a photo with it, and we're gonna tag you, and then you can repost it, and we'll pay you or something." I don't know what happened, but I'm sure it was awkward for everyone involved. So I will pass on the photos there, but no, I think it was fine. I think and to be fair, that could we haven't even included them because she's not a tennis player, but that could potentially be the best looking couple like on planet Earth. I don't know.
I got a man crush on Tommy.
For sure. Same here.
Next one. Am I teeing this one up, right? We're still going.
I think so.
First round upsets, smash or pass, or early round upsets.
Yeah, it depends. In majors, I don't love it. Obviously, if it's like the big four or like the top four seeds, I don't love it because I feel like it makes the tournaments too wide open. But so I'm passing on those. But I will say in smaller tournaments, like where the draw is smaller and you got like it's like an upset, but it's like a number one seed playing like the 20th player in the world. It's not that big of an upset. Those are great. What about you?
This is a tough one for me too because I'm all about an underdog story, and without some of these first round upsets, you don't get them. But also, there's plenty of times where the first round upset happens and then they lose the very next round. So if I'm a paying customer, I'm passing on the upsets because I came to see the big guys. It's great if you get to catch a story, but it's just not as common. So I gotta pass on it.
Yeah, but you want to see the big dogs playing the big moments.
Exactly.
So last one for the smash or pass, breaking rackets over your knee. JP, we saw Sebastian Korda do that. What do you think about that one?
Hard smash. You can't. That's one of my favorite parts about tennis, and I'd never seen he broke it, didn't he?
Oh yeah, he broke it right over his knee like an absolute lumberjack,
like WWE.
Yes,
and so I'm all about it, especially Sebastian because he isn't the most he doesn't really have like a hot head, a big temper, and so to see that it was kind of like, you take a step back from the TV, pause it, rewind it, watch it again. Diagnose it like, hey, this couldn't have gone any better.
I did do that. I rewinded it, watched it again, and that, kids, is how you break a racket. You don't want to be that guy banging it and like taking 4 hits to crack it.
That's how you get hurt
over the knee, and then he basically just like twisted it in half. And I was like, "Damn, Sebastian! Like that's that kind of like old man strength."
Right.
And that's how it was done. And you're right. He doesn't do it all the time. So that also adds like, if you don't do it all the time and you do it really well, then it's just like, we didn't know you had that in the bag.
Exactly. He's got some lure to him.
For sure. All right. That is smash or pass. So great little run there. I thought, JP, what do we got next week? I didn't write it down. So off the top of my head, we've got Eastbourne for the ladies and the men. Small 250 event down in the south of England. Pretty cool. I did get a credential to that. I just wasn't able to go. So shout out to Eastbourne. that's happening next week. That's just basically a Wimbledon tune-up. And then we got Wimbledon people at Wimbledon practicing, trying to get ready for the big tournament. JP, that's what they're doing.
It's going to be good, man. We love Wimbledon. Wimbledon is one of the best times of year because my favorite holiday. Unfortunately, I'm the only one here that celebrates this holiday, but 4th of July, it's my number one. It's because I love all the festivities around it, and Wimbledon is included in that tradition of I'm at the beach, I'm by some water, and in the morning we got tennis on. In the afternoon, we got the reruns on, and it's awesome. It's just it's a great vibe. So I'm excited.
You know, and as a Canadian, I'm very patriotic, but I love the U.S. You know, I love freedom. I love that you guys love your country more than we do.
Yeah,
like you guys love your country.
I mean, that could be its whole other episode as well, because the Americans, we got some work to do as far as our patriotism goes.
Sure. But I love patriotism, being proud of your country, and the players that are repping it, like Tommy Paul, Jessica Pegula, who won this week. So big week for the Americans. I feel actually big week for the Canadians too. Rebecca Marino won a challenger in Ilkley, something. And we got a couple of our boys. Shout out to the homies Gabriel Diallo and Alexi Galarneau in the Wimbledon qualifiers.
Oh,
the big dogs. Times for the big dogs to eat. That's what I'll say about that. Gabriel Diallo is 6'9". Scary.
Beast.
He really makes Felix look short. And we got Felix and Shapovalov going to be in Wimbledon, and I sense good things for them.
Last year, I had breakfast with Rebecca at the U.S. Open. Fun fact. We were sitting at the same table.
Same table. Why? How? What? How did that happen?
This is my thing, bro. At the time, I was doing a podcast with Jack Sock and my guy Clark Cummins and Trevor Short. That was our team. Yeah. And we were just hanging out at one of the player hotels. Trevor is like the man on camp, the big man on campus when it comes to tennis tournaments. So he's like, oh, let's just roll into the where they got the breakfast going on. And he knows everyone. So he's friends, I guess, with he played college tennis with Rebecca's coach. And so that's how we got connected. And how we broke bread. She probably wouldn't remember me, but it was fun. It was cool.
That is cool. It's funny when you're in there, you feel like you're like behind enemy lines, like you're not supposed to be.
I know. You just gotta try to play cool and get nervous, and but hey, we didn't get kicked out.
That's good. That wouldn't be the first time that someone from the Slice has been kicked out of a tennis establishment. We'll just leave it at that. Leave it at that for this week. Thank you for being here, everyone. The Slice Tennis Podcast with Stephen Boughton and JP Hovey. Download it. Give us a review on your Spotify, Apple, and we will see you next week, basically on day one of Wimbledon with any fresh news. Maybe Djokovic pulls out, maybe he doesn't. Right. We'll see what the actual draw is looking like, and we'll do a bit more of like dark horses, like quarter breakdowns. We'll probably have an interview from a very high-profile coach of one of the very high-profile players. You might have a guess on who that is. Anyways, thanks for being here. We'll see you guys next time on the pod.